Salutations, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Here we are, continuing to work on my trade journal application in nestjs, TypeScript, React on the front end. And at this particular point, we haven't started on the front end. We're continuing to add unit tests to the back end and just continuing to expand upon that using AI for some of those things. And so in the middle of this, I might take brief moments to nom on some food. We pass in a new option, and we expect it to be true. Let's go ahead and take a look at our option service here. So for those who are or are not following along, we've created, or I've created, unit tests for most of the application. There are a few controllers and services that I don't have unit tests for. That's going to be the option service, the stock service and controller, and the trade service and controller. So I'm just going to finish up those today. They should actually go by fairly quickly, and then I can actually start on doing some additional testing and maybe writing some of the front end. But let's go ahead and finish that. Muck stock model dot create. I see. So Nest actually gives you a fairly nice testing framework to kind of start you off. And if you've used AI, it's not bad. I'm just mimicking off of what I've done before, and we are going to just return true. There's not much to verify with our service. Our service very much so relies on SQLize to pull that back. And for our failure case, we're going to have it resolved to a rejection. So we're going to pass it our service. But the mock stock model, and it should probably not be stock, it should be mock option model. Let's go ahead and change you around. Mock option model. Yeah, there we go. It should reject, and we should expect it to return a failure. Hold on a second. Yeah. We do want it to expect it to return a failure, but you're going to do a service.create with the new option. And let's go ahead and test out our create. Let's run it and see what happens. And while we run it, I'm going to eat some mashed potatoes. Valid user ID. I remember for this I need to create this type of request here. And this type of request here. As I use a system to create a proper request, we use a separate function to validate that there's a proper request. More potatoes. Nice. So our two tests passed for the creation. Let's go ahead and move you down. And let's finish our creation. Let's maximize you guys. Fail to create an option. Now let's go ahead and do the delete tests. And it's going to be similar just the whole way down. Option service delete. Should delete an option. and it should fail to delete an option. And again, I'm not in love with unit tests at all, but they should be done. It should delete an option. We need to put in the proper request, like itty. And we need to create a mock. So we'll call it the mock option model. What? No, mock option model dot destroy is what we're using here. So let's go check our service. Delete is a destroy. And we'll do what we did up above. So we'll mock the resolve to true, because I just have it returning true or false on these. We expect it to be truthy. That's it. That's all. Now we do the failure. And we'll actually, it's better to kind of fail. Well, we'll do a mix of the two. Should fail to delete an option. We'll pass in a user ID and a value, and it's going to do a rejection here. So should fail to delete. So the destroy will do a rejection, and this is what we should await to. Dot delete, and same information to be passed in. That should be pretty smooth. Let's test the delete. Yep, everything passed. You see down here our two tests pass. So now let's test the deletion of multiple items. And there are lots of little notes. Like, I think that's one of the things that's kind of nice and terrible is that you need to think about all the little scenarios. Potatoes. So as you start to work and think through your system, you know, you think of little things. So like, it occurs to me that we need to be able to delete. We need to add delete for multiple trades, and add delete for multiple journal entries, and add delete for multiple, etc., etc. For multiple trades, journal entries, we can't really delete a stock. We don't really want to do that. But we do want to be able to delete an option, a journal entry, and a trade, and we don't want to delete exchanges. Multiple trades, journal entries, and we already do it for options. So that's what we're working on now. And so a lot of this stuff is repetitive. So I don't know if you have to, if we have to write unit tests, but it's good. That way, again, if you modify something down the road, you have, you know that your unit tests are going to work. And that's something that you should probably integrate into your deployment, so that you, whenever you deploy, and the failure should be the exact same, but so that when you deploy, you're running all of your unit tests, hopefully. But you can also have people that help with that. So that's helpful, but at the same particular point, it may not be. It depends on the person, but I think it helps in terms of keeping your system a little cleaner, and so that then you don't have to do as much testing, hopefully. Now, mind you, this is just unit tests for the API. It doesn't actually do API testing per se. But all right, so we're kind of moving right along here. I'm going a little bit faster this time rather than talking about it as much. I know what I need to do, and at this particular point, it's just a matter of getting it done. So I don't know if there's as much to talk about this time around. Other than to say that, you know, it needs to be done. So here's where we are, kind of just plowing through it. And then we have to mock the service. And in this particular one, it is delete an option, edit an option here. Wait. Should throw an error for non-existent option to edit. Yeah. But we have to tell it. So edit. Update. And in this particular one, how do we want to do this? So we should say option not found, but the only way that's going to work is go ahead and let's take a look at our find one. Oh yeah. So we need to say our find one dot mock resolve to this. Do that right? Nope. I want to grab the whole thing. So it should mock resolve to unauthorized. Well, option not found. Is that what we want? Do we really want an unauthorized? Do we want a not found? Let's look. Nestjs not found exception. We want a not found. Let's go and look. This is our list of exceptions. Excuse me. We want a not found exception. We don't want an unauthorized. And this is the other thing I think about unit tests is it forces you to it forces you to kind of relook at your code sometimes. Service edit new option delete, and we're going to say not found exception. Cool. It forces you to relook at your code. So mock option model, and we need to do the test. This is the failure test. And it should throw an error for a non-existent option to edit. We actually need to do a successful one. It should edit an option. It should edit an option. And in this particular instance, we want our mock reserve value to just be a true. And we expect the edit service to actually, we'll do this one, to throw a true edit. Should edit an option. Find one to resolve to. How do we want to find one to work? So here's a perfect example of where you might need to. So in this particular instance, we'll use a partial. It's going to be, I believe it's called a colon partial option. And we'll get to you in just a second. Mark.resolve found option, and then mock optional model dot update dot mock resolve value return true. And it looks like we never defined find one or update in our model up here. Find one, oh wait, we didn't do update. Should be a just.function. And then we can always override it down below. And be honest with you, this helps me practice. This helps me practice my unit testing creation as well. So, edit should edit an option. I got to create the partial option yet. And the result should be we wait the edit. Edit here, yeah. And we expect to be truthy. Now that's still going to be the case. Now, I forget for my new option, it's really just going to be the exact same thing. So, yeah, we can do that. Let's see if you work. It might not like that. 2 tests failed. Option.update is not a function. That means we need to fake the function. We need to come in here and say update, and you're going to return true. But you don't like it. Oh, I know. We're going to do promise.resolve. True. What are you grumpy about? Oh yeah. This? Yeah, there we go. Now why did the second one fail? Expected, received, not found. Oh, I see what happened. Find one option. We're rejecting you, but I actually throw this. So when I throw the exception here, it gets caught up here in the reject. So let's check this again. And let's eat some potatoes while I wait. Nice. All right. So here's this one. And we need one more test to know what happens when the option fails, when the save fails. So because there's 2 actions in here, should fail to edit an option. But that means that what we need to do is similar to what we've done above, we're going to put an exception here. So it's going to do a promise.reject with an internal service error here. So that means it should throw. Let's move you down so people can see. Should fail to edit. And our update's going to do a promise.resolve internal service. And it's going to throw an internal service. Should expect this call. No update. Don't need it. And there's no update here. Don't need it. So that means that our usage of it here is just unnecessary. So then we come down here to there's delete, multiple delete, edit. We keep our destroy pretty simple. If we had done a grab first to find one and then we'd have to do similar logic. But let's go ahead and test all 3 and see what we get. So as of late, I've kind of fallen in love with these garlicky mashed potatoes. I kind of eat them pretty much every day for no good reason. Let's see. So that's my edit, and there's a get all in here. Should find all the options. I think we need the test of failure as well. Let's create it. Get all paginated. Find all. And we'll do the same thing that we've done up here. We can create a series of group of partials. And so non-existent, edit. Oh yeah, get all. Should find all options. Yeah. Let's change this to get all. And let's create a little const. Let's call these expected. All these result options. It's going to be equal to an array of partial options. Yeah. Array of partial option. Yeah. And then we'll come here. You're going to be about something. So many things, but it's a partial option. Unless should go here. There we go. And then your find all should resolve to here. The result options. We expect it to be an array. And expect options dot length dot to be 2. And I guess we could, if we really wanted to, but we know exactly what we're expecting. So it's supposed to be an array. It's supposed to be a length of 2. So the logic here is just the mock. And we should do a failure. So it's going to be the same thing. But we're not going to return anything. We're going to fail our find all. So it should find all options. Promise reject here. So should find all options, should fail to find all options. So we'll do an exception not found, or we'll do it, yeah, we'll do a not found. And where do we go from here? We need to call it. Yeah, should fail to find all options. Yeah, so we'll do this, and we'll do a service.getAll and request paginated, and it'll be the same thing. There's nothing that it should expect. I've misspelled something here. Let's go ahead and test it. What's up? Ooh, invalid user ID. That's on me. I am forgetting to put in my request. So it can't just be any. That's a valid request. And here's a valid request. Let's test you all real quick. We're kind of just pouring through these real quick. More mashed potatoes. All right, we've had our two tests passed. And the only thing we have left now is the unit tests for the get one. Let's go ahead and put our curly brackets, parentheses here. Don't forget to swap out the user like I did last time and create our mock model. Grab everything from here to here. Find one. Const results is going to be equal to just one partial option, which is going to be equal to this one right here. And you're going to return the results. Expect option to be, thanks. Expect option to be the type. To have how do we determine type? I did it before and I just don't remember. I might just Google it real quick. To be truthy. Resolves to throw. All right. Not to be. Type of option. So yeah, let's run it real quick and see if it's going to be about a partial. All right. Oh, I see why. I did a find all rather than a find one. Let's rerun you again. Expected a function. Object is, ooh, I guess not. I got a function. Let's see why I got a function. Results. What? We got a function. Oh, I think we should, it should be another array, right? I think it's going to be another array. Yeah. So we do the option 0 to be type of array or type of option. Let's don't need a breakpoint. Let's rerun you again. Nope. Does not like. Let's just do the ticker. Let's just do the ticker to be equal to results. Dot ticker, which again, we know what this is. It's not. Oh, yeah. Results dot ticker. Equal. Results 0 dot ticker. All right, cool. And let's double check it just to be sure. Yeah, that passed. So just one more. Let's do the failure here. Then we'll be done with option service. It should, yeah, it should fail to find one option. We don't need the results anymore. We don't need any of these expects. What we do need is this stuff up here. We'll just copy it and put it down here. Find one to resolve into that exception not found, and then it's going to be the same get one and get item, and we'll rename you to this. And let's go ahead and run you. Let's see what happens when you all run. And then let's just run the full file. Yeah. Minimize you again, and let's run the full file. Let's run this option service. Oh, looks like people are poking me in Pokemon Go. All right. All of our 14 of our tests passed. Let's go back and take a look at our project. So there's our controller service, our controller unit tests, our option service unit test. I've created one for stocks already in terms of the service. But I feel like the stock one's super light. That's because there's very little here. The stock service just goes out, grabs the list of stocks. Let me take a drink here real quick. It just grabs all of our list of stocks, puts them in the database, and other than that, you can just request all the stocks. You can't really get one. There's just not a need for it. But let's go ahead and see what our automatic system comes up with. Oh, I gotta activate this. My trial is over. Give me a second. I'm gonna go ahead and activate. There we go. Let's enable the assistant. Give me a second. I gotta go to my JetBrains account and activate it. Set up the AI assistant. Actually, here. No, yeah, let's use the AI assistant. And I want to use the AI assistant, not because I don't have ChatGPT, but let's take a look. Actually, let's do that. Let's do ChatGPT. But we have to grab all of our code anyway. So let's grab it all. And let's come over here and run it in ChatGPT. So nestjs. Yeah. Let, right. Drag this over here. So let's see what we can do using nestjs and excuse me. Sequelize TypeScript. Write unit tests for the following code. Let's see how ChatGPT does. And while it works, I'm going to eat some more potatoes because, man, I love potatoes. Awesome. So let's copy the code. Let's close you down. And then let's come over here. And let's create it. It's going to be doc.controller.spec.ts. Add it. Paste it. It looks like it's missing some stuff. It's not quite right. Yeah, it's definitely not quite right. Exchange code is going to be of a type US, and exchange code is going to be exchange code, and this should be a partial. So just keep that in mind that you can use partials in here. Partial array of stocks. Is missing in type. Required exchange code. Yeah, exchange code. Type US. That should be right. Oh, I see. Let me double check on how I actually use this. Cause get stocks. No, that should be right. Let's take a look at our controller. Yeah. The exchange code. I'll type exchange code. Yeah. No, that should be right. What are you grumpy about? Let's take a look again. That doesn't make any sense. Exchange code is declared here. Property exchange code is missing in type. What? Oh, wait, what? We're not even up there. What are you complaining about? What? You should be a partial stock. I was like, wait, what? Why are we testing up there? So very confused. Not assignable of type stock, promise stock. Then what we want to do is mock resolve promise.resolve mock stocks. That means we probably need to do the same thing down here. Now let's see if you will run. And I really only want to run this one test. I want to see how well it does. It's not assignable. It's a type promise stock. And this is where you Um, well, let's see. So let's come over here to our stock model and create a stock model that it can use. Let's move over here. And for our get all, let's create a stock. Let's do country, currency, sorry, country, currency, exchange, stock name, stock type, and ticker. And let's do that. Let's do this. So there we go. And now, so this is the one thing that I must say that I kind of like the AI system that's built into here. Um, so yeah. So let's look at how we do it over here. We spy on, we promise, resolve. A partial option. And that's what we do, is we... Give me a second. I'm going to eat some more mashed potatoes. So, let's take a look. So, let's go ahead and pull our options controller up over here to the left. And then see how we do a get one. So when we get stocks, we have our fake data. We just spy on our service. We return a partial, resolve mock stop as stock. There we go. I think that's what we do, and that's all that I'm missing. So let's just run one. We're not, all right, fine. I'll correct you as well as stock array. Yeah. Then let's see if you will run again. So I don't know. Again, I'm not in love with the AI bits. Promise.resolve mock stocks is stock array. I wonder. Promise as observable. Wait, let's do this. So we'll promise dot resolve dot true as observable of type boolean. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see if that'll make it happy. Wait to be true. Cool. So these should all work now, but this also helps me figure out what I need to do for my other specialty controller. Yeah, so this should get all the stocks. Let's close you so we can take a look at what that looks like. Let's go to the stock controller, see it side by side, make it bigger. All right. So this is all that we expect to do, these two items. But it does help me now see what I need to do to return. So I have another bit up here in the exchanges. The exchanges controller spec for it is right here. So let's open you up and should return all the exchanges. Stock one, no, stock controller, there it is. When we say get stocks, we don't use you. We should do the same thing. Spy on, get all. Yeah. So let's close you. Let's go back to our exchange controller. Here it is. And we're trying to spy on get exchanges. So using the stock controller as kind of a base. I'll put it here in the comments. Here we go. It should get and refresh exchanges. Now there's nothing specific that I believe we have to pass in. And the service should be get exchanges. Now there's nothing that we're passing in. Mocked.resolve changes this promise. True unknown, okay. Why are you unhappy with this? Spy on service. Get exchanges. Let's take a look. Service. So let's take a look and mimic these. Class mock exchange service. No. We are going to do the following. Just.mock exchanges. And just.mock auth guards. Now it does it a bit differently. I don't hate it. But then I don't need to mock it here. I can do this. And what we want is exchanges controllers and exchange service. And then we can get rid of you, controller and service, all of that. And before each, we'll clear all. This is not a bad way of doing it either. Spy on to resolve to result. Get exchanges. Spy on get all. Let's take a look. Testing module, exchange. Why are you grumpy? Just.spy on. Exchange service. Oh, I know why. My exchange service is called refresh exchanges, not get all. Yep, there we go. So that refreshes our exchanges, and then await controller. What is it called again? Fresh exchanges. Yeah. What did I think you were called? Controller. Exchanges controller. Dot. Get exchanges. There's nothing to return. And we expect refresh to have been called with nothing. To have been called one time. To have been called times 1. Let's test this real quick and see if this will work. Yeah, no, that will work. Cool. So this is a slightly different way to create a unit test for this. But now we have unit tests for what do we have unit tests for? Cool. We have unit tests for our options. We have unit tests for the stock endpoint, and now we just need to create unit tests for the trade endpoint and the trade service. We're about an hour in though. Let me go ahead and grab a drink real quick, and then we'll keep diving into this. Now, one of the things that I had taken note of before was that I wanted to create a kind of a user profile. That way people who are doing trade journaling can record some of their preferences for things. There are a couple other things that I realized that I wanted to look upon that I forgot as well. So with the user profile system, one of the things that I'm not doing is keeping track of the thing they're using to trade. So like you have TD Ameritrade, TradeStation, Tasty Trade, Fidelity. There's so many different services out there, and each of them have, most of them, but not all of them, I think, have fees. Robinhood has like fees. Not everyone, but many of them, especially for options and for futures and so forth and so on. So the other thing that I forgot, aside from the user profile system, is and we could keep it there. Like that could be a place. So for each in the user profile, we can keep who you do your trade through, and that we would call necessary a broker system. And for each, and as a user, you have multiple brokers. But you'd almost want to create a whole separate broker page and a broker system for that. So we'll come over here to our side trade. We'll come over here to our source, and we'll create a couple new folders. One we'll call user profile, and no, I did that wrong. So we'll create a folder, not a file, called user profile. And then we'll create another one for broker. Not a file, a folder, single brokers, broker. Yeah. Now I'll just kind of lay out the general pattern for those. And then I'm not going to create unit test for them. I will create unit tests for the trade controller though, because I said that I would. So under here, we're just going to keep it like we would everything else. We'll do broker.controller.ts. And that is one thing that is nice about Nest, I find. It's very well organized, but it reminds me very much so of Angular, which I don't want to say came first, but like I feel like it did in terms of its layout. So we have our broker.model, broker.module, and then finally broker.service. Broker.service.ts. And we'll do the same thing down here for user profile. Now I don't have an idea off the top of my head for what are all the things that are going to go into the user profile. The only thing that I can think of right off the top of my head is for a person to pick an exchange that they want to, a specific exchange. But that's all that I can think of off the top of my head. So I'm gonna spend some time probably at the end spitballing about what that should kind of look like. And again, for anyone who might be following along or trying to create their own thing, like these are the types of things that you're going to run into. And this is kind of a weird over-the-top tutorial for people who might be, thinking about building something on their own for, say, a portfolio piece or something along those lines. And I'm not using this for my portfolio or anything like that. This is just kind of a genuine interest to kind of do a deeper dive into nestjs. Just because there are a bunch of pieces that I didn't do with nestjs before. So, like, I didn't dive into creation of unit tests and how that would work out. I tried to incorporate sequelize in this particular one, whereas last time I did MongoDB. So this is the sequelize interaction with nestjs. I wanted to implement some type of authorization and authguard that I didn't do last time with nestjs. I wanted to look at what are some of the approaches for helper files, things of that particular sort. So I wanted to kind of do a deeper dive into nestjs and how to do various things inside nestjs kind of from scratch, if you will. And I'll probably continue to do that type of deep dive into stuff. So like I've played around with P5 and built something, but it was kind of my first iteration. So the next time I'm probably going to use P5 and there's a library called P5 Play and build something a little bit more robust and complicated. Excuse me. Again, it's just kind of fun, but I think it really does help me kind of be a better programmer and kind of dive into things on a deeper level. Doesn't make me like the best programmer, but like I think it helps in terms of architecture and thinking about things. Like before I approached this, I really had to sit down and think like, all right, do I want to use nestjs? Do I want to use C#, so forth and so on. And I have nothing against C#. I totally will probably use it for my other projects, but what did I want to dive into? How did I want the architecture to look? Did I want to use a relational database, or did I want to go for a NoSQL database like MongoDB? How did I want my endpoints to look? Things of that particular sort that I think are good for a programmer to kind of think through. How do I want my application to behave? And I just think it's good practice. Hopefully, everyone gets an opportunity to do this at work. But if you don't, practicing afterwards is always I think a good thing to do at the end of the day. I was going to create the trade. So looking at how now there's two different approaches that I've taken at this particular point to creating unit tests. There's this one where I literally just mock everything. So that's one approach, and it actually creates less code. And then there's a more complicated approach that I've taken in, say, stocks. Is it stocks? Yeah. No, I apologize. It's in the option controller, where I, instead of mocking everything from up there, I create actual individual objects and literally create the full service. And I must say that if I had the chance to go back and do it again, and I mean, I'm still working on it, so I might go back, when I'm not on stream and do it. I think keeping your code cleaner is the better option. So going forward, I'll probably use this simplified method for creating controller mocks rather than the more complicated one. So we'll see how that works out right now. Let's do trade.controller.spec.ts. All right. And you can see how few things are really needed in here, but we'll import, we'll do our describe. This is going to be the trade controller. And I need to take a look at what the actual trade controller has in it. I'm going to move this over to another screen, just so I have it. The main focus is, of course, on writing the unit tests. And let's make it a little bit bigger. So we have our unit tests, and we're going to break it off into a couple different pieces. So we're going to have the create, the delete multiple, edit, the get all, get what? So, excuse me. Let's do the just.mock like we did before. And we want trade service and just.mock guards off guard. And then we can go ahead and start our, oops, those go outside the describe. We need to list, well, we don't need that yet. So inside our describe, we'll create our controller. It's going to be the trade controller. Let service trade, oops, trade service. We'll do upper for each. They're asynchronous. Let's do our module. The testing module. Wait. Test dot create testing module. Curly bracket. Controllers. It's just going to be the trade controller. At least I think so. Let me double check. Trade service. I'll double check in the module in just a moment. If I can type. So there's our before each. Let's import test. Fix everything in prettier. And come over here and do this. Controller is going to be equal to module.get. And it's going to be trade controller. Trade controller. And service is going to be module.get. Trade service. Trade service. And we'll just do a clear all mocks. So let me take a look in the module. Yep, in the module we're only using trade controller and trade service. For some of the others, when you're pulling in other things, you need to include those in your in your list of controllers or providers. For example, if we were using one of the other services, then we would need to bring it in as a provider. Let me finish off these potatoes. I do enjoy me some garlic potatoes. All right. So let's do our first create. Let's see how this works. It should create a trade. Async. And we'll do pretty much the same thing. So for my create, all I have it doing is returning true when it completes. And the service, let's take a look at the trade service real quick. When we do a create, it's not going to be a get all. It should be create. Should resolve to true. But what are we going to pass in? We need a proper request. So let's steal one from over here. Yes. Let's create a constant request that we can use. And there's a bunch of other little things that I've noticed that I should have cleaned up. We can create universal request. And so then we can simply say const yeah, is going to be equal to wait controller.create a request. And in this particular instance, where's my trade controller? It's over here. I need to pass in a new trade. So let's create a mock trade. On mock trade, it's going to be equal to, it's going to be equal to a partial new trade. It's going to be equal to a partial new trade with a capital N. And let's double check and see what goes into a new trade. All this stuff. Okay. Date. Number 1. String quantity, some number. New date. They should be commas instead of semicolons. Number and string. All right. Partial, and actually there's no need for a partial. It can just be a new trade because I don't need to do anything special. Request, comma, new trade. And then we're gonna confirm some things. First, we do an expect here on the service dot create to have been called, and then we can expect results to equal true. Let's go ahead and run and see what happens. Maybe I got it right. Maybe I didn't. Cool, got it right. Awesome. I don't really have it failing at this point, but this is an example of a new trade. Let's do the delete. Kind of keep going down the line. Trade service is called delete. You're also going to return a true. In this particular instance, it's going to be a get one item object. So get one item is this mock item. It's going to be equal to a type of get one item and item ID of string. And you're going to be a get item. And you're going to be controller.delete. Yeah. Service.delete has been called. Just mock item. Import. Run. Cool. Got that one done as well. Cool. So that's our delete. And with this mock approach up here, this is much faster. I can generate the code much faster. So I think I will probably go back and clean a lot of this stuff up to make it simpler and easier. Should create a trade, should delete a trade, should delete multiple trades with a Z. Service delete multiple. Controllers called delete multiple. Expect it to be called one time. We have our item ID, and in this particular instance, we have delete multiple, which should look something along the lines of this. So it's going to be a delete multiple mock items. The item IDs are just going to be an array of strings. And item 3. Item 3. What are you grumpy about? Item IDs? Oh, yeah. Can't have that here. Import you. Mock items. Delete multiple. Should delete multiple items. I think that should work. Cool. It does. So we just have edit next and then get all. Let me check something real quick. So edit. Let's see. Edit should be service of edit. Service edit. Controller edit. Should edit a trade. And edit. Return true. Request. Ooh, there's multiple items that I need to pass in. So request is going to say the same. Let's grab the get one item from up here, which is going to be used here. Get one item. So there's our mock item. And now we need a new trade. And we have one of those. We'll grab you from up here. And we'll just reuse you down here. Mock trade. Edit. Results to equal true. Done. Awesome. Cool. Let's go ahead and do the get all and the get one. And that should finish out all of our unit tests for today. that I'm going to work on. Let's see, get all has it paginated? No, that's all it has. It does not. I guess that's not true. It has let's call this walk pagination. It does not need a new trade. Get paginated is going to be equal to number limit 1 page of 1 page of 1, and the method that's going to be used, the controller. The service is called get all, controller get all, service get all, that's what it's been called, and the only thing we're interested in is the mock pagination. But this time we actually have to return something different. So similar to what we did over here, we'll fake it. Const results are going to be equal to, what do we return? We return a promise above a bunch of trades. So we want to return a partial trade array. And that should be CptWoozle. And you're going to be equal to an array. Let's import our trade. And let's take a look at what a trade model looks like. Trade model. Let's move you over here. Let's make everything bigger again. So we have our buy date. Excuse me. Buy price. Option ID. Quantity. Sell date. Sell price. Stock ID. We need don't need necessarily trade, but we do need a user ID. And what you're going to return is a promise.resolve of results. What are you unhappy about? Oh, hold on. As a trade array. And we've been called to, I think we did it somewhere else. Hold on. I think we set it to be an array. I don't see it. Let's go look at one of our other controllers. I don't see it. Trade controller. I see stock controller. Here it is. I thought. Did we not do it here? Let's look. There it is. We say array.isArray. So let's come over here. And we could just say to be truthy. Be truthy. So it's going to be an array. And the other thing we can check is we can expect results length to be let's make you a bit larger. We say results Let's call these mock results. And then let's run you. And then we're almost done. Cool. And the last one is going to be get one. And it's pretty much going to be almost the exact same thing. But instead of get all, we're going to get one, get one, get one. There's no match. There's no pagination. All you're going to have is as trade. There is no pagination, but there is a get one. Expected to be called. It should always be true. Excuse me. Let's see. Partial trade. You are then equal to this. Yeah. All right. And then I need to use the get one that I got before. There it is. Let's put you up here. Long item request. Long item. How we want to test you? Results. That's sell price. Yeah, we'll do that. And let's test you out. Not as a breakpoint, let's just run it. Cool. Let's go ahead and run the whole file, make sure nothing's gone wonky. There it goes. 19 milliseconds, 6 out of 6 tests passed. Nice. So we have one more thing to do. Let's again leverage ChatGPT and see if it can come up with unit tests. So we'll use the same prompt using nestjs and sequelize TypeScript. Please write passing and failing unit tests for the following code. Let's see how it does. And while it's doing that, give me 1 second. I'm going to step away and put away some dishes. All right, I'm back. Let's take a look at the code that. Let's take a look at the code that ChatGPT has created. So mock the trade using user helpers. Let's copy all this code. Let's come back over here and create our new file. So we'll do trade.service.spec.ts and add it in. Saves so that it corrects everything. Trade model, user helpers. Nope, that looks to be okay. Let's see how this does, because again, it's mocking a lot of things. And let's run create to see whether this fails or not. Ooh, no. Yep, see, this is the one thing. We can't mock these the same way I found these the sequelized models. You have to mock them in a slightly different way. But maybe we can make it work. Let's see. Give me a moment. All right. Oh, I didn't realize this. I move back. The money moves back. If I move forward, the buddy moves forward. Anyway, hmm, um, so, it didn't do as good of a job with this. So trade service. Well, let's take a look at how it did it before, and let's see what's different. So, why didn't it spy on the service like we did before? Let's take a look at something. What? Hold on a moment. So let's see. Before we did this, you mark the service here. I see it, but why aren't we spying on it? Let's see. Maybe there's something here that I'm missing. Let's see. I see. It doesn't see it. So when we look here, and let's close all of these, all the other tabs in the group, close you. So when we look at how we do, the exchange service is probably not a good one. The option service is probably a better spec to look at, or the stock service. So if we look at how we do the others, let's put you side by side, make you bigger. Let's see. It looks like we created as a provider up here. So we're looking at the wrong thing. We need to be down here with the trade service and have you right next to the stock service. So if we take a look up here, we have the module provider of stock service, but we don't have this. So what we want to do is probably say this, and we want to use the mock trade model as our provider, and that actually might solve it. Let's see if it does, because if that's all it took, again, this is much less code, and let's see if that will make it happy. Oh, no, it does not. Mhm. So, um, can't resolve dependencies. Let's take a look. Well, that seems odd. Oh, no, it doesn't. Trade. It could have just been me putting in bad code. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Create. Wait, what? Um, can't read property of create. Create true as any. Yeah, we ran into this. So projected value, get all. Let's come back up here to our get all. Oh no, this one was incomplete. I gotta work on that. Let's not use you. Let's use the option service. Put you over here to the right. Put you aside. Let's see. Let's take a look. So, at inject. Nope, we didn't need the service. We need the spec. Look at me being an idiot. All right. Let's take a look at this. So there's our model. There's our model. Type of trade. clear all mocks. Yeah, no. Dot create true user helpers. Oh, what's it saying again? Cannot read property undefined of create. The only difference is that we fake it up here rather than do it there. So we don't mock the trade model here. We still want the user helper, but we create these consts here. And so it's still going to be mock trade model here. Yep, we no longer need you. And then our behavior should be working. Yep, there we go. So yeah, so not quite right. Not quite right when we get it from not quite right when we get it from ChatGPT. So, but not terribly wrong either. Luckily, I had done it before, so I kind of know what to kind of look for over here. We can ask for the others. Can you write unit tests for the other methods? Delete, edit, delete multiple. Yeah, we'll just grab these. Can you write passing and failing unit tests for the other methods? There we go. And let's see what it comes up with. Yeah, there's tests for delete. Let's see how this works. Let's do the delete method in here. Let's run you. See how that looks. And since we've corrected the overarching structure, the rest of them should work just fine. There's our delete multiple. So yeah, so once you kind of have the structure down, you can ask ChatGPT to kind of come up with some code for you. Here's the edit one. Yeah, there's the edit one. And here's our get all. Let's take a look back here. And this is the last one for get one. And now let's see if all of these tests pass muster. Let's run the whole thing. So if we kind of do the setup, received So it looks like for edit, it gave me the wrong thing. It should return. What did we return? Expected. Unauthorized. Received. What? We expected unauthorized? Did we? But there, what we received. This is what we wanted. Yeah. So let's rerun this one. And yeah, there we go. So that's a way to do unit tests. Now, I'd already, again, become familiar with running unit tests before. But this wasn't too bad. There are a couple things that, again, I think I could do better going forward. So like this uses a mock for user helper. And I don't. What did I do here? That's a request. They use a mock for user helper. And you don't really have to. We could have just kind of created a constant up here. Right up here, actually, in our describe. And then forever just passed a good request back. So await service dot, and then we never have to use user helper ever. There's no need to mock it whatsoever as an assistance. No need for it. I don't even think we need it up here as I look. Yeah, no, we don't need it. User helper is perfectly fine to generate whatever it wants. We just pass in the request. So again, less code that you have to kind of look at and be like, why is this here? Is it doing anything? So forth and so on. So if we just pass in a decent request, which again we can just create at the very top, we don't have to do this. So just little things to kind of keep in mind when you're generating code. You want less code to look at, and if you can kind of put things in universal spots, all the better. So we'll actually go through and replace everywhere where it says request. And again, we don't need the user helper. We'll go ahead and test and make sure that works. And then we'll kind of create a good stopping point after that, which is just to kind of push all of our code up. Save and push all of our code up. Well, we'll test, save, push all of our code up. And then we'll talk about the user profile layout, spitball on what that should be. Let's run this real quick. And you can spend hours writing unit tests. Hours. Cool, 12 out of 12 passed. So we've done the unit tests for trade controller, trade service, stocks controller, and the option service this time around. And with the help of ChatGPT, we already had most of them created last time, but there were a few. And we started laying the groundwork for brokers and the trade and the user profile. All right, cool. So I'll go ahead and commit this code after the session. But let's sit down and talk about a couple different things and how we want to tackle those. So one of the things that I wanted to implement was a user profile system. It'll have a, or we can just call it profile. We should probably call it user profile because there could be other profiles. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll do a user profile ID. And this is another thing when you're kind of coming up with ideas on how you want to approach things. Um, so as you're trying to go through and think of from a development perspective how you want to approach things, there's a lot of things that you want to kind of look through and investigate, and everyone's different, and everyone might feel strongly about it. So when you're kind of doing your own independent projects, try to think through this stuff. Again, not to say that one is or isn't better than the other. I'm not leaning towards one or another. Um, um, Not leaning towards one or the other. I'm just saying that these are the things you want to kind of investigate. Like, should you use a GUID versus an ID? There's some pluses or benefits, and the development community can have very strong opinions about these types of things. I ultimately have come to appreciate GUIDs, but they have their downsides. If you're looking to do a lot of migration back and forth, this could become an issue. Um, so I think those are the things that you can look at. You can always go back and change it, but it's a pain. But I think everyone's got to should think through those things and kind of figure out some of that on their own. I think some people are very quick to just be like, "We're going to implement this and go." And don't get me wrong, you can. It is just that down the road, as the application grows or as you build it, um, these are things you might want to think about ahead of time. So in this particular instance, I preferred GUIDs or wanted to try out GUIDs this time around. Now I'm probably going to actually use this particular trade journal and then continue to add to it as I go along for different features and functionality things, and kind of open source it so that people who also want to keep their own who also want to do their own trade journals can use it and come up with ideas for themselves. This particular instance is going to have a user profile ID. Of course, it's going to have a user ID, which is going to be the GUID. And for the user profile right now, I'm not going to keep any other information in there other than their preferred, the preferred exchange. And it's just going to be a string / varchar. So that's all I'm going to keep in there right there. And now, right now, one of the other things I'm not doing, and again, this is something that depending upon the size and how you want to grow your application, you might want to think of what we call localization or language preferences. Normally in here, I would also probably keep some type of localization, and then use kind of a localization library for that. But let's take a look while we're here, and I have the opportunity to. Let's look at some React localization. Let's look at first best practices and then um, um, who writes text on your app. We're not going to change it. Um, so there are a bunch of different libraries. I've used some of them before, but I'm not going to do the translation. Um, so React with, let's look up Google Translate. To kind of do our translation. Yeah, there we go. Um, you, ba, ba, ba. So you would use Google Translate. as a way to kind of get it. And then from what it sounds like is that you wouldn't want to, I wouldn't, looking at how this is done, I wouldn't um I wouldn't just have it translate. Well, let's look a look. Let's take a look. I believe Google changed all of their translations and all of their APIs to cost. Um, so I don't know if I would let it just keep hitting the API each and every time. I think that could be pretty dangerous and very costly. What I think you should probably do um, is use the API to pull down certain particular phrases the very first time, kind of let it go through and pull all of that, and then save it somewhere in your system. Because if you don't, every time you make an API call in this particular instance, it's going to um, and this is something that I've seen other places do. What you can do is when the person logs in, go ahead and create on the fly a JSON file with all your translations. So you could keep your translations in a JSON file and then have it swap out. You know, you'd run your Google Translate with the individual sentences and or paragraphs you want to translate, put those in the database, and then when the person logs in, dynamically generate a JSON file that is returned to the front end so that your system, one, doesn't have to keep hitting your database for the translated texts, but two, then doesn't have to hit the Google API, because again, it's going to cost you every time you want to do that. That is one approach. There are lots of other approaches that people have taken. If you don't mind it hitting your API, your backend multiple times to get a translated bit of information, that's fine. But you also may want to think about things like offline flexibility, how it's going to work on mobile apps or on a phone. So if a person loses service, you can do database reads and writes, or at least hold the database pieces temporarily. But then, so I think there's a lot of different approaches. It doesn't have to be just that one. Uh, but we're not including localization at the moment, and that's something that we could, and we'll just put it in here just as kind of an extra preferred language, and we'll keep it as it is, and uh, so the other thing we want to do is create a broker. And it's going to be the same thing. So we're going to have a broker ID. It's going to be a GUID. Each user ID is going to have a broker, and it's going to have a broker name, and each broker is going to have a broker option fee, and there's going to be a broker stock fee. And these are, again, not every broker, but some brokers charge fees whenever you do an option trade, and a fee every time you do an option stock trade. And usually it's a fee when you buy and then a fee when you sell. So every time you buy is a fee and then you sell is a fee. So if it's 60 cents to buy an option and then 60 cents to sell an option, you need to make sure that you make, if you're looking at it from a financial perspective, if this is, again, this journal, you would need to make sure that you make at least, $2 for every trade. So here's your broker fee, here's your option fee. I can't think of anything else. Like, I guess you could keep other information that's specific to the broker. So, like, there might be a unique ID for a broker. So there might be other things that I will down the road decide to add to this. So, like, I imagine each broker has a unique identifier that applies to them that I'm not incorporating into this, just a name. So, like, you might be like TD Ameritrade or Trade Station or Robinhood or Webull or something along those lines. So, um, you would have those particular things for your broker. Um, right now, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. We're going to have a user profile where we're going to have a preferred exchange. And why is that? Is because when we reach out to get the stocks for an exchange, we only want to get the stocks for a specific exchange. And there's different exchanges. Now, we're only specifically dealing with US, so everyone's going to be defaulted to US, I believe. And brokers will create the brokers. We'll create some of this. So I'll probably create the brokers in the user profile tonight after I finish the stream, and I'll create the unit test for those. Run all of my tests to make sure they all work, and then start diving into maybe some creation of the front end. Anyway, thank you very much for your patience this evening. Sorry to kind of step in and out. Made some food right before I started the stream. And I think that's it. So we're making a lot of progress. Well, I feel like I'm making a lot of progress. It doesn't mean that it's by any means complete, but I've got most of the back end done. There is one thing that I should probably look up while we're here. Um, let's look up JWT refresh token. So let's look up how you do a refresh tokens. And let's see. Somebody has a whole video on it. I'm not going to use. Let's see. I see. So here's an example. So we would send two tokens, an access token and a refresh token. The access token will have less expiry time, and the refresh token will have long expiry time. The front end will store the refresh token in cookie and access token in local storage. Okay, all right. The client will use the access token for calling APIs, but when it expires, you call your auth server API to get the new token. And since it stored in the cookies, exposed. Oh, I see. So that's one thing that I also need to implement is the refresh token. So we'll use that as a implement this, and I like this flow. So we'll implement it as we see here. We're already getting a list of systems. And I'll also create the delete for multiple trades journal entries. But I'll go ahead and start on the refresh token a while too. So I think I'll end the stream there. I'll update the README and kind of go from there. So yeah, I'll add in our user profile, add in the broker, at least the models this evening. Go ahead and add in the models at least this evening, and kind of stop from there and update the README as well. So thank you again for tuning in. I'll be in again on Friday, and I'll be here all the holidays, so I plan to go absolutely nowhere on the 25th or 27th or 29th. I'll just be here writing code. Same thing on the 1st, because, you know, why not? What else is there to do for me? Well, at least I don't have anything else to do. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm gonna. Oh, hey. I was just about to head out. How's it going? I was just talking about what I was gonna implement over the next few sessions. User profile, broker, and then a user refresh system. Oh, cool! Congratulations. I've been slowly adding to my README, but it's nothing spectacular. It's just, kind of a breakdown of what I was aiming for. But very, very cool. Congratulations on the documentation update. Have you been able to make any major breakthroughs, or has it just been kind of the same? Anything? Any new major breakthroughs? Decimal. I was asking, did you make any like major breakthroughs, or were you able to make a lot of progress in terms of what you were working on? Nice. That sounds like pretty good progress. Um, yeah, I haven't played around much with um, with the video capturing. I always find it to be very, like, you're constantly still relying on third parties to a certain extent, for your video encoding, because I think a lot of places still use what, FFmpeg, but I don't know what places. Does JavaScript have something built in? Yep, yeah, FFmpeg. So you're kind of caught with that, and it just feels like a bit of of a of a black box at times. Um, Not to say that you can't look at the source code for FFmpeg, but like there's a bunch of stuff that's like, it just feels like a bit of a black box at times. at least on my end with a lot of stuff. And I'm not always the biggest fan of that, um, kind of black box type stuff. But I mean, you run into it with anything. Yeah, you could use individual encoders, but I think FFmpeg has like the best overall kind of just support as a whole. So I think it would probably be best to use FFmpeg. Let's take a look. I took notes on useful links, refresh tokens. JSON Web Tokens, class validators, TypeScript. Let's see. Is there anything else that I feel like I'm using here? Axios. Yeah, I mean, if you want to drop it in the chat, I'll take a look at it. Axios bcrypt. Bcrypt. I should include Axios. Let's see what else we got. Let's just put it over. X. Cool. I'll take a look. Thank you for sharing that. RxJS. Let's include you. This isn't the Electron app I'm working on. It's a different project. I see. Very cool. I haven't actually played around with Electron. Let's take a look. Oh yeah. I have heard of it. I've just never built anything with it. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've helped other people with it. So that seems to be pretty neat. But I haven't played around with it. I'd like to. I don't know what I would build. I guess I could turn this that I'm currently building into an Electron app, but I suppose it has its own ups and downs. I'll see. Like I don't know what I would build with it. I think there's another project that I would probably build with it that I think would be a little bit more universal. But I don't think anyone would really use it. It's more something that's a passion project. I like keeping budgets. As you can probably see, I'm fairly financially oriented past the point. So clearly I'm doing an option journal, trading journal, and now I'm looking at doing, a budget app. But like I said, I think the next project is going to be with P5 Play, and then like you mentioned, I was going to try WebGL with JavaScript. So I'm interested to see how that will work out. But I haven't done anything with WebGL yet. So we'll see. I don't know what I plan to make with it. So we'll see how that goes. Nice, nice. I I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think that one of the things that we don't have is a good player. Um, I think the biggest hurdle with a lot of open source stuff that's not supported is exactly that. There used to be a really good media player called Media Player Classic. That was that turned into um, and again, clearly it's not for everyone. It was Media Player Classic, and then it got turned into this MPHC, but it's meant for Windows. It's not really, universal. Um, some people really like MPCBE. I still prefer MPCHC. There's a few commands that MPV. Let's look. Oh, there's a few commands in Media Player Classic that I enjoy a little bit more, but I haven't played around with MPV. I'd like to see. I'll take a look at this. Um, but there's a few things that a few commands specifically. Some of the videos that I watch, I want to be able to slow down, and in what is it? Media Player. Let me find some video, some innocuous video that I can pull up. Um, yeah, I don't know if I have any innocuous videos. Um, Something that won't get me kicked offline. um, I don't think I have anything. Yeah, I don't think I have anything. But let me, because I do have Media Player. So I won't play the video, of course. But one of the things that I run into right off the bat here is um, I liked that in Media Player Classic, there used to be other buttons here, and you can see them over here because I still have it. Media Player, where are you? Media Player Classic. So as you can see in Media Player Classic, let me widen this a bit. Um, yeah, there are some decrease speeds and increase speeds functions that I didn't see um, as handy options in here. But maybe it was just me. Yeah, I think it is just me. I liked the ability to quickly click and double click. But it looks, as you said, there's probably keyboard shortcuts to yeah, there it is. Control up arrow, control down arrow. Um, but I liked that they were just handily available right here for me to flip through. But that was my preference. But I have both, as you can see. Like it's not that I don't have it installed or anything like that. I've tried it out and I have it and I use it for certain things. But I'll give MPV a try as well. It doesn't look like it's a bad media player. I don't have any strong feelings about my media player at the moment. Um, yeah, I don't have any strong feelings about my media player. I used to watch a lot more back in the day in terms of like anime and movies and so forth and so on. But now like YouTube has the videos, and I'll go on there and watch a movie. The only downside is, and maybe it's different for other people. With my current setup, when I'm running like some fairly memory intensive stuff, YouTube just kind of acts weird and stutters. And I've turned off the whole, at least in Chrome, I've turned off um, the what's it called? There's a feature for, I guess, video um, something or other. It just enables you to use the video enhancement that's built in or added into Chrome, and I've disabled that, and it still stutters, and so I find that a little frustrating. So I almost have to do nothing while I watch certain things on YouTube, and I don't know what it is. I've been looking around online for a solution for a while, and I just haven't found it. So as of late, I've been kind of buying videos, and that seems to be work. I haven't checked them out yet. I'll check them out after stream. Um, I try to stay a little. I try to stay a little on topic during stream. That's all. But I'll take a look at it after stream. Um, did you do you what do you use, by the way? I think I was asking you last time that you were on, whether there was your strong feelings on, um, whether you had any strong feelings about unit tests whatsoever. Yep. I feel the exact same way. They are so tedious, but very very useful. Um, and have you had a chance? I think we talked also about you trying out AI. I tried to run. I tried to use the ChatGPT this evening to write some unit tests, and it did all right. It didn't do as well as I had hoped. It did all right. Um, so um, I might use it in the future. It does help speed things up, and it did come up with a unique way of approaching things that I didn't use before. So I don't hate it, but um, um, column at column. Then straight GPT-4 versus what? Well, I don't know. I find, so like I said, WebStorm has their own. Um, I found that ChatGPT did slightly better than the AI assistant that's built into WebStorm. Um, at least, and I didn't have it write much code for me. I kind of already knew what I wanted to do. And again, since I'm writing in Node with nestjs and Sequelize, I'm using a lot of like pre-existing libraries. So your controller is going to be pretty darn simple for the most part. You're just returning whatever, and for your service, you're going to do some modifications here, but a lot of the built-in stuff. So like the exchange code, by using the class validator and forcing validations across all of your endpoints, it will automatically catch the exchange code not being like, if I say is not empty, it'll automatically catch it, and I don't have to do anything extra. It'll automatically return that error. So that saves me a whole lot of error checking inside the services. So that's done. Then for the most part, since I can guarantee that that's going to be, at least there, and I'm using the pre-existing. How would you go about doing graphical unit test? I don't know. Wait, are you talking about in like React? Or are you talking about in something like WebGL or P5 or something along those lines? I'm pretty sure that what you're gonna, and again, I haven't done it. I haven't tried to write unit tests in either WebGL or Canvas. But I'm pretty sure that at one particular point, I'm gonna. I guess I would probably use now. It's been a while. I would probably. I don't know. That's a very good point. I imagine you could try to take a screenshot. There are some screenshotting tools that might work, but I don't know. Um, I don't know. That's a good question. Let's see with P5JS. Um, so it looks like you can do unit tests with at least P5. So they're using Chai to do it. And that's some strings, but I guess what they're verifying is P5, I guess, has its own built-in. So mock color update. Yeah, it looks like you could use, they're using, so this is an example using P5, which is what I've used. I don't know anything about the WebGL. It looks like you could use, WebGL does this type of stuff. Yeah, I guess you're right. It's not graphical. Let's see if somebody else. Color is not defined. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I don't know if there's a way to. I don't know if you could, because it would need to be able to verify certain things that are on the screen, and I don't know if you could. WebGL unit tests. It looks like you do, or at least someone does this, where they're doing kind of a WebGL to image. So they save it. Yeah, and this is what I was saying. I've seen other people use pictures, and then they use an image diff to see if the images are the same. So you'll do what your expected image is and save it, and then the actual image after it's done, and then compare the two. And other companies use this as well as an additional form of unit test, not just on WebGL stuff, but on like actual pages. So like if they're saying this is what the web page should look like, or this is what this component should look like on the web page, take a screenshot of it and compare the two. Now often they're doing a combination of both image test and making sure that the HTML output matches. But that can be a little bit troublesome depending upon the CSS framework that you're using. Some of the CSS frameworks generate unique IDs every time it's rendered, so that is not but so useful past the point. But it looks like you could do it that way. Like I said, do an image diff where you compare the two and make sure that they match. And that seems to be, and this is what I was thinking, this would probably be the only reproach, but peak to signal. But at that point, wouldn't it just be easy to use the image diff library, not to, you know? I just think that might be a little easier. I mean, that's true, but I think the question is also how much is it going to be worth it for you to create those graphical unit tests in for you in this particular scenario. Um, you know, for the most part, um, it may not be necessary. But if you feel strongly about it, then yeah, go ahead. Um, yeah, yeah. If you feel that strongly about it, then go ahead. I just don't know. It sounds like it's an awful lot of work for you to just verify, which can be done with an image. Throw it on a black background, white text, or whatever text color. Cool, it rendered. It looks the same. And that's all you really care about. Um, so I would probably go that route, but that's just me. Because I do the same thing here. There's things where I'm just like, is it worth it? And I'm just like, it's not. No one's going to care past the point, especially on the unit test side. Um, yeah, people. But remember, these are unit tests. We're not going for so much. Like, remember, the idea behind the unit test is not even, for example, with this service. The service here, the spec for it tests because we mock the model, and the model is the thing that's actually writing to the database. So all we're doing is making sure the small amount of code, excuse me, the small amount of code that is being done in the service layer, which is nothing. It's absolutely nothing at all. It is literally get the ticker endpoint, return service from something else. And all of that is all mocked. So we're really just testing did we write the code in a way that this would, kind of sort of work? Does it hit this return piece right here, which is another piece of code? The same thing goes for, any of this service layer. So we're mocking find one. And let's actually go to the actual service. The service is probably a better spec. Service. So we're mocking find one, so it's never going to find an actual real thing. We're mocking it, and since we're returning it immediately, what's it actually checking? That we wrote the find one mock function correctly? That's really all it is. Same thing with the find all. If we had additional code in here, sure. So most of your unit tests are just going to pass, fake equivalency anyway. That's all we're doing. We're not testing actual equivalency. We're going to put some fake text on the screen, and we're just going to verify that the fake text that we put on the screen appeared on the screen correctly. What do you mean by psychovisual equivalency, though? Well, what do you mean by why would they be slightly different? What would be slightly different if what you wanted to display is, say, hello in as a subtitle on a black background? Why would you use a different algorithm, though? Why would it be different? I understand that you're saying that there could be a different algorithm, but why would there be a different algorithm? Right? But if you're generating the algorithm, if you're using an algorithm to generate the text, and you know what that text should look like, and it works, then you have a picture of what it actually looks like. And so your unit test would just compare what you're actually created versus when the test run. Then you probably wouldn't want a unit test, sadly, because remember that's all that unit tests are. Like, we just make sure that the unit test does exactly what we tell it to. We don't care if it's slightly off. We want it to be exactly on point. That's what we do in the unit tests. So, like, if we say that the unit test, so let's say we create a mock function that, returns 1, and we go to test out that function, we want it to return 1, not, and I mean the number 1, not the string 1, not the approximation of 1, not 1.00000. We want it to return 1 or it's wrong. That's how we write our unit tests. So I don't know if what you're asking for is really a unit test per se, in the traditional sense of the unit tests that you see people write. That would be something slightly different. That would be an approximation. Now, of course, you could try to write your unit test around that. So it'll be like, oh, we got 1 and then convert it over into like 1 and any variation of 1, and that would work. But traditionally, as far as I can tell, unit tests would say, I wrote a function that when I add 2 plus 2 should equal 4, specifically the number 4, not 4.00000 or any variation of 4 where it's 4 divided by 1. No. It should equal 4. And as far as I know, most unit tests say, if I create a function called add and I pass in 2 and 2, it should give me back the number 4. That is what I expect. And if the result is 4 divided by 1 or 4.0000000, it is wrong and fails the unit test. And again, I'm not to say that I'm in love with that, and I know that it feels weird for that. It's just what, as far as I know, would qualify as a unit test. But again, you can. I don't know where that would fall. And again, I'm not, like, I've been doing it for a while. Yeah, all right. I mean, as long as it, yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know. I've never tried to do something like that. So I am probably not the best person to ask, but I will see probably on like my, I don't know, second WebGL project. Usually for my first project, I try to do something that I don't do any unit tests on, just to kind of get a feel for what it's like. So I will probably just try a WebGL project in general, just to kind of play around with it, and then I will try to do something more complicated the second time around. Um, but I think if you feel confident that it'll work, I am not one to say otherwise. I would trust your knowledge over mine, as I have never done anything in WebGL, and I haven't messed around with graphics at all in JavaScript, other than like your HTML, CSS, some small canvas stuff, some P5 stuff, but that's about it. Just because there just hasn't been as much of a desire for it, and WebGL and P5, etc. Though people love games, um, it's an awful lot of work. It's a lot of work. to build it. Like I could build something like this in a much shorter time than I could build a game sometimes. Just because there's just so much involved in, say, a game or visual things. But um, I don't know if I'm roasting. I was just saying that traditionally the unit tests are meant to be, because I don't like unit tests either. Unit tests feel weird to me. Um, uh, as a whole, they feel very weird to me because I feel like I'm literally just, it's the equivalent of me making a tin can and then being like, I want you to test that it's a tin can. What? But you made the tin can, yes, and you put it together, yes, and then you wrote the thing to make sure that it's a tin can. So of course it's going to tell you it's a tin can, but that's not the whole point of them. So I sometimes find them a little frustrating, and again, especially in this case, I there is the test is testing so little. What? Oh no, no. I am not in love with unit tests. I think they're a necessary evil. Necessary evil. Um I I'm just saying from what I understand of unit tests, they're supposed to be weirdly like exact, but I also don't know if that's the only way to do them. I don't know if that's the only way to do them. I think your approach is much better uh, for for what you're doing or what you have in mind, and you're the person who would know better than me. 100%. You're the person who's doing the graphics work. I I think most people would probably be okay though with just saying I can verify that they look the same and kind of go off of that. Um, but I don't know. I don't know of a nice way to do unit tests, and the question is how much more effort is it for you to build your own very specific unit testing library using PSNR? Yeah. Like, is that going to be a lot more work? And the question is this going to be worth it for you to do that? Um, and I don't have the answer for that. You know what I mean? I think that's a very personal question. Oh, let's take a look. But is it, well, yeah, there you go. So I guess it could look at the data and compare the two. So I guess it wouldn't be too hard to do what you're talking about. Um, but isn't it going off of kind of like, and again, I don't know enough about PSNR to say. Um, I guess you'd have to take a look at that, or I would have to take a look at that library and see, whether it's within range. But if there's already a library that does it, and it's already well written enough for you to use it, then I think you're good. Um, yeah, I think the question is just how much variation are you talking about in terms of the PSNR? And again, I'm no expert in this. I don't know enough about it to really feel good to comment past the point, except to kind of give kind of a very very high level, like, I think this is what's going on perspective. My area of expertise is much more on the just writing of straight code, and business, business architecture and approaches on that side. I haven't played around, and again, I have put it on my list. I just haven't played around with it past the, tangentially looking at it and being like, oh, cool, WebGL for JavaScript. That's a thing. But if you have a solid approach already, I would say go for it and see what happens. You know, this is your library, and it sounds like you've been working on it for quite some time. So I have confidence that you'll be able to figure it out. You know, I have no reason to doubt another developer. Yeah. So no, I'd say give it a try, and I'd love to hear what you find out. Oh man, it's only 10:47. Well, I guess it might be late for where you are. I'm gonna try to knock out a little bit more code, and then I am not gonna go to bed yet. I am going to do a little bit more code over here, and then do a little bit more code for work. Um, so, oh no, I'm here for questions, and one of the things that's nice about kind of streaming for me is, again, it forces me to try new things that I wouldn't normally try. I get to talk to people about their perspectives on things. I get to get other people's input, feedback, and get introduced to new ideas that I hadn't thought of. So like I said, I was going to do P5 JS, but you brought up a really great idea of me trying out WebGL. So I'll put it on the list for one of the projects to try out. So your input is always appreciated. Um, I don't know if I can provide as much solid input to what you're doing, but people's input is always appreciated, and you're never taking up my time. I'm here to do this, and to chat with people, and to write code. Um, so your ideas are definitely useful for me, and when I start diving into my second WebGL project and I start writing in my own unit tests, I think that approaching looking at PSNR will be something that I eventually take my time and look at as well. I just don't know if I have enough input at this point to do offer much other than like, hey, this is a thing. Um, but you're never wasting my time. Don't ever think that. We're taking it up. Like, I'm perfectly happy to chit chat about this stuff. Um, and thank you for joining. By the way, it's always nice to have people who, at least one or two people who pop on and say hi and have feedback or input or just things to say. So I'm going to go ahead and create my new broker class. Uh, base. Um, the, view broker, broker view body. Not pulling my request. Be pulling a request from here. There we go. So post. Delete. So I think that we only need the major CRUDs. Get on edit, which is going to be the same thing for the most part. But you're going to be a put instead of a post. You're going to be an edit, edit, edit. Um, let's see. I should change this. I should update. Add a note here. Update. Journal controller. The universal item ID. Universal item model. Yeah, because we use it here in the stocks controller, is we use the universal. Do we? No, we don't. We use it in the option controller. Options controller. Yeah, see, we use the get one item from the param for edit. Import. So you're not red. There's our request. There's our param. There's our body. We pass in our get one item and the new broker. We don't have a broker service yet. Edit, and then the only thing we need is delete. Yep. And I don't even know if we need to get one for some of this stuff because I'll have a collection of them, but I guess we could get one specific one. But we're going to get all of them. Let me bring it back. So double clicking will just have it bring up all of them. Let's do one more request, one more endpoint for delete. So instead of your delete, auth guard, delete, delete, one item, no body. Edit, delete, delete, create, and then the broker service. And most of the stuff has been done before. So let's put a bunch of you down, and let's mimic you, our broker service, that injectable. Let's see, As broker service constructor at inject model broker private read only model type of broker. And a lot of this is going to be the same. So our create is pretty much the exact same. Create broker this dot broker model dot create option broker. Yeah, nope, they're pretty much going to be the exact same. There's very little that changes here. Delete, get one item, this dot broker model. Get one item dot item ID, option ID. This is going to be a broker ID instead. Done. Edit's pretty much going to be the same as well. Let's do our get all because that one's pretty easy. There can never be that many for there to ever be pagination. Where is it? Get all. Yeah, there's really no pagination involved in this at all. Can't imagine there'll be that many brokers. Promise broker an array. Find all. This is going to be broker model. Where? Yep, and that'll handle get all. And then the last one is edit, which is again going to be pretty much a copy of the way we did everything else. At one point, it might behoove me to create kind of a generic for all of this, because it's also same for everything. So broker model where broker ID not found, return true. What are you happy about? Pro controller, let's import you get all. I think, hold on a second. Let me check all my controllers because now I'm concerned that I'm not passing in a request for every single endpoint request. Do get all. Get all. Get all? Yep. So let's look for everything where I say get all. So get all. Let's check something. Before I do that, let's make sure there's no red here. Cool. So in our broker controller, we do need to pass the request along with everything. We don't need for the EOD service. We do want to auth guard it, but that's all we care about. Same thing with the exchange service. No guards. The journal controller. You do require it. You do send it back. For the option controller, send it back. Cool. Get all and get one. The stock controller. You in the right place? Stock controller. Oh, we do need the auth guard, but we don't need to send it back. Trade controller. Get all. Yep, we do send it back. User. We don't have any in there, so The only thing, yeah, yeah, no, we're not really using it. Test. So, yeah, it's 11 o'clock. Let's go ahead and save all of this stuff. I think at one particular point, what I'll want to do is Swagger is potentially add in Swagger, and Swagger um, to go ahead and build all of my Swagger endpoints, and then use Swagger for that to kind of build that. So I'll poke at that um, to kind of help. We'll see. Swagger looks like it's a whole bunch of additional, or you subscribe that provides a dedicated module. We'll see. I'll see whether I want to include Swagger, but this gives us our broker, and the last thing we want to do is we'll create our user profile. I'll create the unit test for these in between, and then kind of go from there. Yeah, and I'll also start modifying these because this is an easier way to use the auth guard. Then I never have to call the guard again. Yeah. So yeah, this is a much cleaner approach than the approach that I've taken. So I'll probably go through, modify a bunch of the services and controllers to use this approach. And same thing, let me take a note of that so I remember. Just controller tests to be like, which one did I create to be like the trade controller? To be like the trade controller. Adjust service unit tests to be like the trade service tests. Do a quick comparison. See them side by side. Journal controller spec. Here it is. So I didn't have to mock everything here. I didn't have to put in this, so it's less code there. I didn't need to override the auth guard. I'm still going to have to create the mock here and then spy on, but I can make sure that they're called as well. Yeah. But it's not that much different now that I look at it. It's just a little bit less code at the start, but I'd still like to kind of have everything be a little more uniform. So anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your energy, and thank you all for your comments and your input. I always appreciate keeping me company, and I always appreciate taking the time and the feedback and any suggestions and ideas that you have. Thank you again for tuning in. I always appreciate it. I hope everyone has a good evening. Take care and be safe. And I will see you guys on Friday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, maybe a little later. Thank you all for bearing with me this evening, and